Welcome, Warwickshire shithouses, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Review from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we have a very special guest because it's Valentine's Day, and somebody actually dressed up for the occasion. That's right, Mike's lovely gal from California, Jonna. Hey, Jonna, welcome back.
Hi, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. My couch is red. So,
I
yeah.
got nothing.
I work from home. I don't have to go anywhere and impress anybody. So,
Hey, he's wearing the hat I gave him.
Yes.
How
there you
romantic
go. That's
is that?
perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. I'll eat the chocolates my wife gave me later. But yeah,
Well,
so we are here not only to celebrate Valentine's Day, but also to commemorate another Best Picture winner of decades past. We are now in the 90s, and there was one, this is like the only romantic comedy that won Best Picture in 1990 in the 90s. Like,
this is the
at all.
only romantic comedy that's won it since like 1960, I think.
Something like that. And that is Shakespeare in Love, a movie whose win is so controversial, you can't bring it up without saying Saving Private Ryan in the same breath. So
I think the reason that it probably actually did the win was because that was the year of two things. Elizabethan England and war. War. But unlike the other Elizabethan picture, and unlike all the war pictures, this was light. This was happy. This was feel-good fare. And sometimes we need something a little lighter.
yeah, you're absolutely right about that. In this year, there out of the 5 nominees, 3 of them were war films. 3 of them took place during World War II. So Saving Private Ryan, The Thin Red Line, and Life is Beautiful. And and then Elizabeth was the other Elizabethan film, but it was more of a darker film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, not to mention the W. Steens, because I'm not going to say their whole names, just bullying campaign for this. I mean, they had won for The English Patient 2 years prior, and this is the one that they're known for in terms of just getting the word of Shakespeare in Love out. Now, with all that said, I still think this is a better movie than Saving Private Ryan, which was the odds-on favorite to win that year. But I do agree Steven Spielberg deserved that directing award. That is a director's movie. On the whole, it is a very good movie that once you watch it once, you really need to see it again.
It's so relentlessly grim.
It is. And I know a lot of veterans
lighten up at any
saw it.
point.
Yeah. I know a lot of veterans who saw it. They just couldn't. Once you get past Omaha Beach, it's just like you have to stop and catch your breath for a little while. It's very difficult to watch. Whereas
Shakespeare in Love, you started out with a Shakespeare that, I don't know about you, but I kind of really didn't like. He was a player, you know?
Yeah.
No two ways about it. He was a player. And yet Joseph Fiennes was really remarkable. He's incredibly charming, and he grows on you.
Yeah.
Just like
Funny
he grows
story.
on Violet.
I mentioned The English Patient from 2 years prior. In that movie, Colin Firth gets cucked by Ralph Fiennes.
You know, it's funny, too, because in the other Elizabethan picture of that year, Elizabeth, it also had Joseph Fiennes and Geoffrey Rush.
It did.
And actually, 2 years prior to this movie, Imelda Staunton was in Twelfth Night.
That shocked me so much. I had not seen this movie when it originally came out. I saw it a couple days ago, and then I rewatched it again last night to see the things that I missed the first go round. And I was really struck. It was like, wait a minute, where do I know her from? And then I had a moment, oh my God, it's Professor Umbridge.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the cream of British character actors in this.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Imelda Staunton. I'm trying to find his name now because for God help me, I can't remember his name.
Who?
Jim Carter, who is Imelda Staunton's husband, was the actor playing the nurse.
And actually, another Harry Potter reference: Mark Williams.
That's right.
The stuttering,
the stuttering narrator.
Yeah. And that's Mr. Weasley.
Yep. It's funny because there are so many great British actors in here, and I'm leaving Jeffrey Rush out of here because he's not British; he's Australian.
Yeah.
So
good though.
Hands down, my favorite character in this entire movie. Hands down,
Well, I mean, that's a mystery.
I like that. It was like the cheerful flip of one of my favorite parts of Amadeus, where every time something happens and it's horrible, and then a miracle happened. Well, this is the flip side of that.
Yeah.
It's a mystery, and it always turns out just fine.
Yep. And the thing I love about him too is that you can smell the desperation on him. I mean, we're introduced to him with his feet literally to the fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, who played Fenneman there?
Tom Wilkinson, who just recently passed.
He was so good in that role too, because he starts off as the kind of the heavy, and at the end he's like I get to be an actor.
He just wants swept up in the story of it all.
Not only that, he wants to get everything precise, like the apotheker's hat. And it's just the whole, in and of this self of this movie. I love how the goings on are directly influencing the creation of Romeo and Juliet. And yes, this is highly fictionalized.
Yeah.
But damn if this story doesn't work. It's very similar to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, also written by Tom Stoppard.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Tom Stoppard had co-written this one until I said in the end credits. I'm like, that makes so much sense now.
It makes all the sense in the world. This movie also won the Best Original Screenplay.
Right.
It was highly fictionalized, but I like that they grounded it in certain ways by tying in actual people.
Yes.
Like the all of the major players were actually major players in Elizabethan theater. And even the who I think of as the annoying rat boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
John Webster.
He was like the next generation of playwright. And it's funny because he always says he likes the part where she stabbed herself. And his plays are known for being so remarkably grim. Lots of blood, lots of gore.
I had my throat slashed in Titus Andronicus. But that's the thing, is that
it's cleverly done.
Yeah. John Webster also gets a name drop in Something Rotten, in the song Welcome to the Renaissance. So it's kind of fun. That's how I have to remember it. And then I have to include the woo after that.
I know Kit Marlowe was in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Blink
Except they referred to him by his Christian name.
Yeah, Blink and you miss him. I was like Rupert Everett was in this movie.
Yeah.
All of 2 scenes, and before he gets killed off screen.
What's amazing to me is that for all that that you had a rather unlikable hero in the first part with Joseph Fiennes' Shakespeare, they took who was arguably one of the biggest heartthrobs after his turn as Mr. Darcy and made Colin Firth just detestable.
Yeah.
From start to finish, he's detestable.
Honestly, that's probably my biggest knock on this movie is that like all of the characters have a nice arc, except now him. He's just this like, mustache twirling villain for the entire thing.
But I think that works for him. He's not allowed to have an arc. He is allowed to have to put up with everything and then be put in his place at the end by the queen of all people.
Yeah,
I love Judi Dench as Elizabeth I.
So good. She
Nobody
that
will
one, right?
accuse that role of being category fraud when she won that Oscar.
Yeah.
That is a 5-minute role. I mean, she owned all 5 minutes of that role.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
she
plus,
got to put Colin Firth right in his place.
Yes.
Colin Firth and Tilney.
Yes.
Callow, right?
Simon Cowell. Yes.
Yes.
Another who's who of the British character actors set.
Yeah. I just wish that they'd found some way to make Colin Firth's character more than just a one-dimensional villain. I wanted just a little bit more depth from him, and he's just, I'm the bad guy.
Right, but I feel though like that would only distract from like the real world conflicts that they had. The fact that Viola couldn't legitimately be on the stage. It was against the law for her to be on the stage. The whole, Will is just going through this crisis of being able to create a show that's profitable,
Well, and that they could never actually be together for any length of time because even if she could be, he's already married.
Yeah. Yep, to Anne Hathaway. Not that Anne Hathaway.
So, and I think Judi Dench's Elizabeth summed it up brilliantly at the end. How does this end? In tears and a journey.
Yep. And it's funny because we began the entire movie with love and a bit with a dog.
That is one thing that I've like. I remember being not really understanding it the first time I saw this movie, and then watching it again, I'm like, I don't really get the ending. It's like, are they implying that the boat going to Virginia sank and that she was the only survivor, or was that just a lead into Twelfth Night?
It's the lead into Twelfth Night.
I mean, Twelfth Night is my favorite Shakespeare play, hands down.
Okay.
But I never quite, I never understood it from the first time, and then this time it's just, are they saying that she was the only survivor? Or
Yep. Nope. It's the lead into Twelfth Night.
All right.
And it makes a lot. I mean, the character's name is Viola. There's a lot of really nice nods to other, upcoming characters. Rosaline and I'm struggling now to remember the name of there was a thing that they said where it was like a 2-part thing between Geoffrey Rush's character and Shakespeare, and I don't remember what the exchange was, but it completed a whole line of Shakespeare's dialogue, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, I know that clergyman on the corner was like, a plague on both your houses.
Yep.
I loved Preacher Makepeace. He's screaming invective and inspiration at Shakespeare at every turn. And then at the very end, when he's just pulled along by the flood of the crowd into the theater. So he's going to the show whether he wants to or not. Definitely not. At the end, he is so into it. Theater buff made.
Yeah. Well, there's so many great bits in there too, especially when they're watching the play, like the nurse at the end, where it's like, "Where's my dearest Juliet?" Dead. Or Romeo, or the Romeo thing.
Yeah.
I have to say also, this might be one of my absolute favorite Ben Affleck roles ever.
The leading player.
Considering this was around the time that he was a big friggin' deal.
When did he win?
What's that? Yeah, he was. This was the year after Good Will Hunting.
Okay, I was wondering when that was.
Yeah. So he had already won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting, and he and Gwyneth Paltrow were kind of like the it couple for a couple of years. And I think that's how they got him involved in the film. But he doesn't overstay his welcome. He's there. He is. Everybody knows that actor who must have that leading part, which has to be named after the character.
I
Yes,
did
he
love
was
the scene
really
where
quite astonished to learn he dies.
He dies.
I did love the scene though when he was like when he was like reading like the line and he actually compliments Shakespeare's like it says, okay, I'm good taking this role because it's a good role.
Yeah. Well, he's also the one who, it's like, name it Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Not Ethel, the pirate's daughter, pirate king's
Yeah.
daughter.
I'm still thinking that is a play that needs to be made. Romeo and Ethel, the pirate's daughter.
Trying to find some of the lines in here, but just the whole bit with him, talking about how great his monologue is, but then I am off stage for the length of a Bible.
Excuse me.
I also I'm sorry, but there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief that I don't have to believe that that Gwyneth Paltrow's what's her character's like?
With Paltrow's Viola.
No, Thomas Kent.
Thomas
Kent wig would not hide all of that blonde hair.
No. And in fact, if you notice when she takes it off, there's always a cut.
Yeah.
Because there's no way. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it takes time to get that much hair under that type of wig.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just in order for the convenience of the film.
I love that they acknowledged that her disguise was really not a great disguise.
Yeah.
It functioned because people saw what they wanted to see. Yeah. But the ferryman who takes him back he's like, "Good night, my lady." And Shakespeare looks at him in astonishment and asks who that was. I said, Lady Viola de l'Estance. And he points out that her guise wouldn't fool a child. And Shakespeare's all but V8ing his forehead.
Yeah. There's a lot of clever little bits in here. The whole thing with Tinley constantly, he's with Rosalind and he is constantly getting interrupted. And it's every scene he is getting interrupted. And it's there's a lot of, and this is the thing about this movie. On the surface, having no familiarity with the movie, you might just think it's just another stuffy, British costume piece.
Yeah.
But this movie really transcends romantic comedy in a lot of different ways that I truly enjoy. I like that it doesn't need to get fancy with a lot of the cinematography. The filmmaking is very straightforward, with the exception of the opening scene where they just do like that snap zoom in to Jeffrey Rush's feet on the fire. This time we're taking the boots off. I truly do love this movie. In fact, I think that when I put my best movie of every year I've been alive, I think this was my number one movie for 1999. And that was a stacked year. I'm sorry, 98.
Yeah.
98 was not as much of a stacked year. There's there are better performances, which we will get into in a moment. But this movie I keep coming back to this movie.
There were little touches too that really made it kind of hit home as realistic. One of them was Shakespeare's fingers. When you see him writing, he has the ink into his nails. You see him at once working with a knife to sharpen his quill and get it ready. You see him sanding the pages.
Yeah.
And as someone who writes, you can't write something by hand and not get inky. Even today, it's gonna wind up.
As a left-handed person, of left-handed persuasion, I hear you, Jonna, because that is. I can't use dry erase markers. I can't use pens.
Your blood, it's like your blood as a writer comes out on the page and it gets on your fingers in the process.
I think I feel similar to this one, how I feel about like Iron Man and Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Because, you know, this came out same year as Saving Private Ryan, and everyone was saying Saving Private Ryan is his masterpiece. Well, maybe so, but I would much rather watch Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, Dark Knight I think is a better movie than Iron Man.
But, I do find myself wanting to rewatch Elizabeth, though, after going back and reading and realizing that you have two of the same actors. It's the same time period, very different take on some of the characters. But I want to rewatch it now.
Yeah.
And I saw that a long time ago.
The thing with Elizabeth, I think Elizabeth is a brilliant movie. I really do. I love the way it's shot. Quite honestly, I feel like, and as we go through the awards that Shakespeare in Love won, whether or not Elizabeth might have been more deserving of those awards. However, and I found, Autumn told me a lot of the historical inaccuracies, and then the History Buffs webcast also was like, this movie has no historical accuracy. Some of the names are correct, but a lot of the stuff doesn't happen within this time frame. It happens years after. This never happened.
Actually, I was kind of curious, so I looked up when Virginia was settled.
Yeah,
and like the colony, the Roanoke colony or the Lost Colony, vanished around like 1590, 1593 or so.
Yeah.
And then there was nothing until like 1606. So they were going to Virginia. There's not really that much there right now.
Right, exactly. It was, I think, the 1580s.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, 1590 is when they discovered, oh, wait, all those people we left there are gone.
Yeah.
And then they just left it abandoned for like 16 years.
I have to say, I found Stephen Warbeck's score absolutely charming.
Yeah.
It is very repetitive, but that repetitiveness works.
I honestly, I enjoyed his score, but it didn't stand out for me in the way some of the other options that year did.
Okay.
That were up for that.
We'll look at that. I think this was one of those years where they had the two score categories. The Disney Award, as it used to be called.
And Disney did have one up for that, which I love. Although I would have given it to the other animated option that year. I would have given it to the Prince of Egypt.
Oh yeah.
Because
right, well, let's take a look then at some
that
of
is
these.
Such a powerful score.
It is. I would, and I didn't care for the Bug's Life score that much. It is. It's boilerplate Randy Newman.
Yeah.
And Mulan was up.
Yeah, it was actually. So let's take a look at this then. So, best original musical or comedy score, Shakespeare in Love won against Mulan. That's score? Oh yeah, all right. So you got Mulan, Patch Adams, Prince of Egypt, and A Bug's Life. So just in case you're wondering what the dramatic score was, Life is Beautiful, which is the winner, Elizabeth, Pleasantville, Saving Private Ryan, and The Thin Red Line.
They split comedy and drama?
They did that for a few years because Disney was constantly winning the score.
Oh, okay.
Back when Alan Menken had like 3 within 5 years because he also does the score for the movies at that time.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the other things that Shakespeare in Love. Oh, damn it. Shakespeare in Love won. And we'll start with, once I get back down to my Wikipedia roll down here. We'll start with Best Picture. So we know it won Best Picture because that's what we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it was up against Elizabeth, Life is Beautiful, Saving Private Ryan, Thin Red Line. Director went to Steven Spielberg, as I mentioned. Also up, Roberto Benigni, John Madden, Terrence Malick, and Peter Weir for The Truman Show.
Oh. I do like the Truman Show. I think Peter Weir did a great job with that one.
Where he would have never in this era of the 5 nominees, he would have never won without that Best Picture nomination.
Yeah, no way.
All right, no one from Shakespeare in Love got nominated for Best Actor.
Joseph Fiennes did a really, really excellent job, though.
I think he did a fine job, but here are your nominees. You had Roberto Benigni for Life is Beautiful, which I feel is one of the biggest cases of buyer's remorse the Academy ever had. Because here are your other nominees. Tom Hanks, Saving Private Ryan, Ian McKellen in Gods and Monsters.
Ooh.
If you've ever seen that movie, if you've never seen it, go watch it. He is magnificent.
Well, it's Ian McKellen.
He's McKellar, yeah.
Well, it's Ian McKellen, but the story itself is just, it's just so intense.
That's telling the story of
James Whale.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The director of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Yeah, no, I thought they were going. I thought they went back to Shelley.
Then you've got Nick Nolte in Affliction and Edward Norton in American History X. Leading actress. We had Gwyneth Paltrow, who won for Shakespeare in Love. Other nominees, Cate Blanchett and Elizabeth. I felt she was robbed. This is one of her best performances. It's also her first nomination.
I mean, I've never seen Elizabeth. I think Gwyneth Paltrow did a really fine job as Viola. I don't know if I would have given her an award for it, though.
Here are your other nominees. You've got Fernanda Montenegro from Central Station, which is a movie that just got it. I think that was all it got nominated for. Meryl Streep for One True Thing, and Emily Watson for Hillary and Jackie. So it was a 2-woman race. Legitimately a 2-woman race. Okay. Supporting actor. We had James Coburn, who won for Affliction.
I never heard of the movie.
Yeah. You had Robert Duvall in Civil Action, Ed Harris in The Truman Show, Jeffrey Rush in Shakespeare in Love, and Billy Bob Thornton in A Simple Plan. And nobody got nominated. Oh, no, actually, nobody got nominated. Yeah, so Best Supporting Actress, Judi Dench won. I think this was a makeup Oscar for the year prior because she was nominated for Mrs. Brown. And realistically speaking, that should have been where she won her Oscar. But it went to Helen Hunt instead for As Good as It Gets. The other nominees were Kathy Bates in Primary Colors, Brenda Blethyn in Little Voice, Rachel Griffiths in Hillary and Jackie, and Lynn Redgrave in Gods and Monsters. If I was going to give it to anybody, I would have given it to Lynn Redgrave. She was phenomenal. She was so wonderful in it.
Who'd she play?
She played Hannah, is James Whale's kind of like, housekeeper.
Oh.
And it was. I remember this very distinctly, watching the Oscars and watching how those two, along with Brendan Fraser, were just like they were one unit throughout the entire award season.
Mm-hmm.
So when Bill Condon won the screenplay award for Gods and Monsters, they were just cheek to cheek watching him accept this with these gigantic smiles on their face. It was a really sweet moment.
Mm.
And now Bill Condon does Disney remakes.
Yeah. He does a good job with him, too.
What's that, Jonna?
I said it's a living.
Yeah, it's absolutely a living. He did a few other things, too. He did a couple of the Twilight movies, too, I think.
Oh.
Yes, he did.
I think he did like the latter Twilight movies.
He did the last two, I think.
Yeah, which are really all one movie.
Yeah.
And one creepy ass looking baby.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? Those are probably good paychecks for him.
Oh, yeah.
Huge, insanely huge paychecks.
Yeah.
But not good movies.
No, not at all.
But then, given the source material, what you gonna do?
True. So, do we have any other thoughts on Shakespeare in Love? Is there anything that really like stuck out to you? I mean, Jonna, did you say you watched it for the first time a couple of days ago?
Yes, actually. It's funny. I saw Elizabeth in the theaters. I saw Saving Private Ryan in the theaters. And I remember all the buzz about this one, but for whatever reason, possibly because I had just graduated from college a few years before with my degree in medieval English literature.
Perfect.
And I had Shakespeare about up to here. I didn't go and see it.
Okay.
And so I watched it a couple nights ago while I was busy recovering from COVID. And then just last night, I rewatched it to get the things that I missed the first go around, because you always miss things when you first go around. That's when I really got the part about Preacher Makepeace and how he just got sucked into the theater literally and then with his whole heart by the story.
Yeah.
And that whole thing I just adored. But it was, I really enjoyed it. And I loved Gwyneth Paltrow as Viola. Didn't particularly care for her as Thomas Kent because, it
was Viola with a deeper voice.
I don't care what Judi Dench's Elizabeth said. It was not a remarkable, it was not a remarkable illusion going the other way.
Right.
I did love her line, however, about knowing about a woman in a man's job.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And of course, if there was anybody who knew about that and during that era, it was Elizabeth I.
Yep. Exactly.
Because she had been fighting that fight since her father and brother died.
Yep. That's so. I mean, it really is just. I don't know. There's just something about Gwyneth Paltrow's performances. I feel like it was kind of like always stuck in third gear. Like there wasn't anything that really like pushed me over the edge where I completely disliked it.
Yeah, she's a very likable character.
Right, but in comparison to say Cate Blanchett's Elizabeth, it was fantastic. You guys discuss amongst yourself.
What I think it was she came off as a slightly weak character, which is partly due to the times and the limitations on her as a woman in that era.
Yeah.
Actually, even though I didn't like the illusion of her as Thomas Kent, that was one of the points that I actually liked it, where she mustered up the gumption to actually go and audition.
Yeah.
She took some initiative in her own life. And I like those points where she did. Also, she's just walked out of the church. She's tied for life to this thoroughly dislikable man. And she gets this flyer in her face. And she hops into the carriage and hops immediately out. And Colin Firth looking around befuddled when he gets in the carriage. Like, what the...
I like that it took him a moment. There's like a good solid beat in there before he realized that she's not there.
Her nurse the thing is clinging to him because she knows full well what her charge is going to do the second she gets out of sight.
Oh, dude, the scene where like they're audibly having sex and she's just like rocking, she's like fanning herself and rocking in the chair to try and distract. Oh, that was a priceless scene.
Yeah. But it was completely believable that, Thomas Kent would have passed as a man because they did need those slight girlish looking boys.
And the fact that Sam couldn't play Juliet anymore because his voice was cracking. He hit puberty.
I could do it yesterday.
Mike, how about you? When was was this the first time you watched it? Was for this review?
No. I had watched this. I rented it on VHS back in college because I was kind of going through a big Shakespeare play part. Yeah. That's where I first saw Trevor Nunn's 12th Night, which made me the biggest fan of 12th Night ever. In fact, I after watching Shakespeare in Love, I put on Trevor Nunn's 12th Night. But no, so I'd seen it back in the 90s, but I'd seen it the one time, really enjoyed it, but it's probably been like 20 years since I've seen this one.
Yeah.
And so I watched it some yesterday and some today.
Yeah.
And it is a really, really good movie. Really fun movie, I would say. Right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Compared to the other the other 4 movies that this was up against for the Oscars, this is the most fun out of all of them. And I'm including the comedy from Roberto Benigni, where he dies in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Spoilers, sorry.
It was a nice that they twisted it. I mean, here it is. He's literally writing what is possibly his most famous tragedy ever,
Yep.
Shakespeare is, and yet it's so amusing all the while. And he's drawing his inspiration from the nurse, where she's telling Anon.
Yep.
And you see it all reflected back in various other points during the show.
I have to say, too, I love Jim Carter's nurse in that, especially when that man is a woman. Are we trying to pick that woman up in the pub? What's the play about? Well, it's about this nurse.
I feel similarly about this that I felt about It Happened One Night in the Apartment.
Yeah.
They're really good movies, but they're also really fun movies, and you don't often have that nice balance.
They tell really good stories.
Yeah.
And I think that we kind of lack that when we're looking at Oscar bait. Yeah. This had every indication of being an Oscar contender, without the Miramax support behind it. This was going to be an Oscar contender based on when it came out, but it is. I love this movie. So we watched. I didn't watch this movie until I met Autumn. So that was 24 years ago. We rented it from probably Blockbuster. Thank you. We rented it from Blockbuster. We watched it. I really enjoyed it. But we watched it pretty much once every 3, 4, 5 years. Since that, we've introduced my daughter to it, and she really enjoyed it. It was the first time it's like, okay, we got to sit here, and she's going to have to see nudity, and we have to sit here and watch it with her.
That actually, I had forgotten about that.
Gratuitous.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Because, so when I saw the R rating, I'm like, R. Why is this R? I don't remember any foul language in this one.
It is the only reason. Yes.
Yeah, then we get to that scene like, oh, there's the R.
Yep. The only reason are those 2 chest shots of Gwyneth Paltrow. Again, great reason to hand her an Oscar.
So, if they just kept the camera here instead of down here, this would have been.
I don't know if either of you remember, the King's Speech was rated R. Another Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush movie.
More likable in that one too.
So
the language alone would have qualified it.
Well, that's the thing, is that there's one scene where the language pushed it to an R rating. So what they did was they softened the scene. They found what was allowable for PG-13, cut it, and re-released a PG-13 version of it after the original cut had kind of come and gone, to see if they get any more. I mean, The King's Speech was a huge hit. Yeah. So it was interesting. I don't see how I don't see why they couldn't have done that with Shakespeare in Love, but the movie's 25 years old. So
actually, if they'd done that, then they might have gotten away with a PG.
It would have been PG-13. I think there was still too much
violence. They did have
violence.
Somebody's feet
There's a
getting
lot of
roasted.
Suggestive stuff in there. I mean, Rosaline is in 2 scenes where she is actively having sex.
Yeah.
Even though she's fully clothed, she's actively having sex. Yeah. There's a lot there. The language, just overall, I think the attitude, the mood would qualify to PG-13.
Yes.
which wouldn't have taken away viewers. But even this movie was a reasonably sized hit, considering it probably cost next to nothing to make.
Got it right here.
All right, what are our numbers?
Budget $25 million. Box office $289.3 million.
Worldwide?
My guess would be yes.
Yeah, my guess would be yes too. Yeah,
That is a nice tidy profit.
sizable hit,
Yeah.
a palpable hit.
I wonder how much of that went to Weinstein's.
Well,
Pocket.
probably went into the legal fund afterwards, but
Yeah. Yeah,
God, I
how'd
used to
that
look
work out
forward to
for
their
him?
movies too. But anyway, I don't know. Do we have any other thoughts on Shakespeare in Love? Because I think I'm about tapped out. Jonna, how about yourself?
You know, like I said, the score, I probably would have given it to another, but it was very serviceable, and it fit the time period that the movie was supposed to be set in.
Yeah,
Which was nice. There was nothing jarring that drew you out of
Yeah.
the movie because of that.
it's
And
a
I
very
liked how
even
they
keeled
ended it
score.
in kind of a dreamscape. I mean, yeah, it's Will and he's writing, but you've got literally this watery shot. It could be any woman, any blonde woman in there, but we all know that it's Viola, and it's flowing out onto the page for him. But there was a nice dreamy quality there.
Yeah.
He found his perfect muse, which, as he told her earlier when she was playing Romeo, to save it for the for the next act, which
Yep.
she hadn't seen yet because he hadn't written it, because he found the love of his life. Sorry for his wife in that, but and it left you feeling hopeful, even though you know that she's tied to someone who's detestable. She's going off to Virginia, which, as you say, there was nothing there at that point in time except woods and Indians,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
But it still leaves you with that warmth, that feeling, that warm-hearted feeling. And for a movie that had some pretty little dark moments in it, that's a remarkable feat. And it was like a warm hug at the end.
Yeah.
And
Overall,
again,
I really enjoyed this
I
movie a
still
lot.
maintain that that's probably the reason that it won in a field that was just so grim that year.
Mm.
Can we have something that makes us smile, that makes us feel good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love is a good thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. The next year, the winner of the next year would be American Beauty, which is a real downer.
Unfortunately, the downers seem to outweigh the fun ones, but every now and again you get them. Like the last time I was on here for The Sting.
Yeah, we talked about The Sting, yeah.
And again, you've got some dark material in there, but it's got a bounce, it's got a snap, and it keeps you going, and you're happy at the end.
Yeah.
Until you get to the Sting 2.
Oh, that does not exist in my world.
We don't talk about The Sting too. So, all right. Well, Jonna, thank you so much for joining us. So you've heard our thoughts on Shakespeare in Love. So we want to know now what your thoughts are. Leave a polite comment below. What are your thoughts on Shakespeare in Love? If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. And Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast. So Stitcher, not Stitcher. Stitcher doesn't exist. Spotify, iTunes. Until April 4th, Google Podcasts. We're also going to be on YouTube Podcasts. So don't you worry about that. We will be wherever you're getting your podcast from. We have a new episode coming out this Friday. Finally, our first episode of 2024. We've been busy, but we're going to give you a gargantuan two-parter. Part 1 launches on Friday. So very excited about that. Yeah. Other than that, you can follow us on the socials. We're at Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast and on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads at Geek Salad Radio. Jonna, thanks again for joining us. Always fun having you on here. It's nice week to get another opinion, another view on stuff.
And next week we will be doing another Oscar winner, but we're going to be going way back.
We are going way back. I haven't seen the movie, so that's how way back we're going here.
Possibly the oldest movie we've ever done on this channel.
I think it is. It might be. Yeah, I think it is. So we'll have to
win that for a while.
We'll leave that suspense going for you. So again, Jonna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.